Hi internet viewers, this is Frank Rauscher again. We're going to proceed on doing the house finch. I'm going to show you how to do that. And we did mark this up on the last video, but I have a couple extra markings that need to be put on, and I want to show you that next. So I'm going to switch the camera down so that you can see that, and bear with me a second. Thank you. Okay, internet viewers, here we are again. What I'm going to try to establish is this head area here. We have a dimension from the center line out to the upper part of the head. That would be from the eye up. It reduces down, and then this is what I call the cheek area, which is out here and out here, which is a slower portion, so it's a little wider on the bottom. So just to establish where we are on the head, I'm going to come back from the tip of the beak in here, just around the eye area, or just beyond that. I'm going to come in and I'm going to measure 5/16, and again, here's the center line of the head. And what I'm going to do is measure out from the center, perpendicular, as close as I can get to it, which is a dot there, and then another one on the other side, same distance. I'm slipping away here. Let's see if I could hold this steadier and come out 5/16 here and 5/16 to there. And then you can see how this is curling around the front here, so I'm going to come out, round that over, and come back like this. Then I'm going to try to duplicate that on the other side. I'm going to come out, turn, and come back like that. So we're trying to mimic this right here. Okay, this turns in a little bit right here, and this turns in a little bit right there. Now, just to know where we need to be out here, this measurement from the center out is about 7/16 on both sides. So we're going to come back here again, and I'm measuring 7/16 and 7/16, which takes me right about to here. So what I'm going to do is draw this, but if you notice, this sort of starts down at the beak here, so I'm just going to mimic this and do an arc around here like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm actually coming off the beak, and I'm trying to make exactly what I get over here. We're doing it symmetrical about the center line. Okay, so what we're saying is when we reduce this from the eye up, it'll be between my fingers here, from this line to this line. When we go to reduce this area, we need to bring it into that line and that line for the cheek area, which is down here, which is what we drew in here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, and before we get rolling here, we have this beak line. And what I want to do, not to lose it on both sides when we start excavating wood out, what I do is I get a wood burning device, and I'll show you that here in a minute. This is the machine I'm talking about. It's called the Detailer, and Colwood makes it. I use several different types. I have another one, which is the Optimal one, which is another one I use as well. And this here is an off-on switch here to turn it on. The light goes on and off, and I dial up a temperature over here. So most of the time for the temperature range that I'm in, but every machine's a little different, so you have to adjust this to suit. It works between 5 and 6 pretty good as far as temperature goes right now. So I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to turn the machine on. This tip gets fairly hot. And just to show you, I'm going to get a piece of wood here, and I'm just going to lay that right there and see what the temperature range is, okay? So I'm dragging that slowly, but I'm going to kick that up to a 6, and you'll see a little more of a burn. That's right about where we want to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right in. I guess the best way to do it is start from the inner beak and burn that out and get that right there. And I stop short of going all the way through on the end. You don't want to go through all the way on the end. And then I'm going to come in here. And we get it back in there. You can see that's fairly hot. And then I lift it just before we get to the end. Now, because we have to bring this beak in, I'm going to go in one more time back here and plunge it in a little bit more so that we don't lose all this as we excavate out. Okay, so we have the separation for the beak. So now I'm going to grab, let's see, we're going to get what I call a bullet, which is this shape here. I'll show you that in 1 second. This is a diamond, and I prefer this, but you can use a flame tip ruby, which has impregnated ruby. This has impregnated diamond. It's in a bullet shape, and it works very nicely for what we need to do on the bird's beak. Okay, now the other thing, I don't know if I introduced you or not, this here is what I use as far as this is a micro grinder, but if you have a Dremel, you could use the same thing. This here is this goes up to 35,000 RPMs. You can get them up to 45 and some even bigger than that. And what you do is you can turn this on, and you can determine the speed by backing it off or going all the way with it. Now, I like this one. This is a RAM product, and I like these a lot. But if you have a Dremel, use your Dremel. This will do just as fine with the Dremel as well. You also have a switch that makes this go forward and reverse. Some people like to drag going in the opposite direction. That's something you can do and feel to see what's more comfortable for you when you go to work your when you start using your bits. Now, the other thing that we do is to change bits. You have a handpiece here that you can click and it releases the bit. So I'm taking that bit out that I have in there and I'm putting in what I call the bullet-shaped diamond. So I click it back and that locks it in place. Now I will turn the speed control on. Now I like to go full speed, so that tends to work out really good for me, and I enjoy doing most of my work full speed because it just seems to work out better. Now, this whole line right here that we created, I'm going to go in and undercut. You know, I got the drag on the opposite direction. In this case, I'm reversing it because I was doing another job on another piece and it had a different drag. So I'm coming along and I'm burying that bit in there. So you can see, I'm gonna show you the depth I get that in there. I hope you can see that well. And what I'm doing here is I'm making an edge and keeping that pencil line right on. I'm doing it on the edge, and I'm going to do it on this side again so you can see it. I'm going to come in here, I'll lay that down on its side and just walk it right on back. And hope you can see the depth of cut in there. It's maybe a good 1/16, maybe a little bit better. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to establish this center line here so that you can see it. And that center line came right on through like we had before, but I'm going to heavy it up just so you don't lose it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in on this angle here between this center line and this beak line, and I'm going to take the material down and give it like a 45-degree chamfer until I get that slope going between these two lines and back here where I undercut. And I'm going to come in. I'm going to roll that back. Now, just so you can see, here's where we were before. I'm going to put the pencil line back in the back where I undercut it. And I'm going to slope this some more. And I'm taking it right back into where I undercut so that that goes right into the head area here. Now, the bottom of the beak is a C, and I'm going to put that back in so you can see that. I'm going to undercut this side of it. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to start from here. And then, one other thing I just remembered that I need to do. This beak not only comes back like this, and here's that C that I have, and I undercut it along there. This comes out like this on the underneath side. This is where the beak shape actually comes back to here. And what I need to do is take this down along this line, and I'm going to draw this, and I'm going to give you a dimension on that just so we could, on the flat side, this is like a lay down dimension. I'm going to say from the tip of the beak back, it's about 3/8 back. So what you would have done is from the tip back 3/8, you put an arc, and this will spin around to that corner of the beak. In the same way here, that'll split around and come in there like that. Now, the beak right now is really wider than it should be on the bottom here. So this is going to create the beak line here, just like it is over here, but this is excess. So what I'm going to do is come in and undercut under here. Right here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is smooth this all out so I get to that line up there and that line over here. That'll be my boundary. So I'm going to come in and just take this nice and easy. I usually try to get the middle of the barrel when I'm doing this, and then check myself out to see if I'm coming up on that pencil line and not going past it. I think I'm pretty close right there. A little bit more maybe up on this side. And I try to get that flat across there, okay? Now, just to help myself out again, I'm going to put that center line of the beak right back where it was. And just like I did on the top where I got this flattened across here, almost flattened, it's sort of rounding a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing from the split of the beak back to the bottom here of the center line. So I'm going to come in on a 45 degree, take that back, come in here. Here's that undercut that we had. Let me pencil that in again so you can see it, so we don't lose it. But as I grind, it will disappear. And this is the center line that I'm trying to mate up to. Right now, I see an edge right here. I need this whole thing sloping from point to point. So I'm just going to come in here to get a nice slope from here to here, okay? Like so. Now, once I establish that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in on this beak line that's arcing slightly, and I'm going to go down on a 45 degree chamfer here, both top and bottom. But I'm not going to try to go all the way out to the end, or almost the end. So this beak tends to roll from here all the way around and in. So I'm going to come in with this bit and just smooth it so it looks like it's rolling into that burn line. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Let me just smooth some of these edges out that I see that I didn't get in the front here. There we go. On the bottom here, So it looks like it's rolling into that burned area, okay? And that's exactly how the beak is. Now let me just come in here again with the pencil lines. Here's that outline we had for the beak. Here's the other one with the C coming around. And then we had this coming up and out. And this is circling over here. And here's your center line coming up. So we still have a little bit, I see edges up here yet that are real faint, but they're enough that we'll get that in a minute. Now, what I want to do is get this in the same shape as this one so we can start seeing that beak coming out. So here we go. I'm going to I'll put that pencil line back in there again for this beak, and just so you can see it. And yeah, here we go. So that didn't come up too dark. So let me just heavy that a little bit more. There's the beak line. Okay. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to angle on a 45-degree angle into that burn line. And then I'm going to come in here and flatten. I should have flattened first, I'm sorry. From here to here, I'll flatten it. So I'm taking that all the way back along this whole area that I undercut it. And I'm going to put that in again so you can see it. Right on around. I'm going to clean that up at that edge and then get all of this down some more to that center line. Right on back into that corner of the beak. Now what I should have done, and I'm going to go back and get my burning pen again. And because I think the beak was a little bit wider on this side, I'm going to have to bring that in because we're going to have to make it similar to this side. And right now, this is a little heavier, and this is how you can correct some of the distortions you get from having too much material that you didn't take out originally. So I'm going to go back in, and here's this edge of the beak, and here's your C down here, which we haven't tackled yet, and we have this coming up and over and back. So what I'm going to do is try to bring this in a little bit more on this side. Right here, I'm going to come in here, bring that back, take that down. Okay. I'm going to try to smooth this out. I can see some edges I left there. Now, here's where I'm going to 45 it right now. Again. So you end up with an edge that moves out. So I'm going to take that edge and roll it around. So this has a look as if it's rolling from here into that valley there. So it goes down in, right in there. Okay, let me just clean that out a little bit. Now, let me get this bottom C out of here. So I'm going to undercut around the C all the way up to the center line here. And around that C. And here we are again. We're all the way out here, and here's the C right here. Now, I'm going to slope it from here back down to here. Get that 45-degree angle in there. Back into the C. Up to the center line. Now, the last thing I'm going to do in here is to get that chamfer on the bottom. So I go in, bring it out a little bit. Watch that you don't go too crazy on the outside because you need to keep that point. And you're just smoothing this out to get a nice rollover where it's rolling into there. And we have this coming around here. And our beak is almost out. It's not perfect yet because we have to do a couple other things yet. And I'll show you that. So here's our line of action that we were undercutting along here. Here's our C on the bottom. Here's our line up under the beak, and it comes around to here. So there it is there. Now, I'm seeing a little bit of distortion, and I think this, when I burned it, I may have burned it a little too straight. So I'm going to come back in on this and just give it a little bit more of an arc. And I'll show you how to do that here. I'm just going to come in on here, and I'm going to come off of that burnt line and then pull it back down like so. Okay. So once I did that, then I could come in and I can bring this in more. Clean this up. We'll do the same thing for the top. Okay, we're getting pretty close to where the beak is coming out. Now, the other thing we want to check too is that the width of the beak, which we weren't worrying about, which is across here from this side to that side, we want to make sure that is the right size. So I'm going to measure from the center out on the pattern here, and it's telling me it's about 3/16 out on one side, and then it'll be 3/16 from the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around to my center line. I'm going to hold my ruler right on the center line of the vertical run of the head, and then I'm going to put down below here 3/16 line right here, and